Good morning, everyone. Good morning, students. So, today, our discussion is all about the historical and cultural criticism. And in today's discussion, our discussion is all about the historical criticism in literature. So, let's have first our objectives. At the end of the lesson, the children or the students are expected to define historical approach, understand the historical approach in literature, and critique a literary selection based on historical approach. Now, we have learned from our past lessons that setting is the time and place where a scene occurs in the story. Well, this setting is a helpful one in a story because it set the mood, wherein it influenced the way characters reflect in the society in which characters live and sometimes play a part in the story. And when we analyze a piece of literature, we focused on the setting of when and where it was written, and in this, we used an approach called historical approach. To begin the lesson, let us try to understand the details and information about historical approach. Historical approach sees literature as both a reflection and product of the times and circumstances in which it is written. In short, it mirrors the happenings of past which make up a history throughout the years. And historical approach does not mean describing everything the characters see or giving a complete history of where the scene occurs, but it is giving enough information to help readers understand a text better using its history as background. And to fully understand what historical approach is, let's consider these definitions from various sources. First, we have the definition from Encyclopedia, wherein historical approach is a literary criticism in the light of historical evidence or based on the context in which a work was written, including facts about the author's life and the historical circumstances of the time. These definitions only implies how the author's backgrounds and the historical accounts play an essential part in understanding a literary piece. Another one is from a Goodwin University, wherein historical approach involves looking beyond the literature at the broader cultural events occurring during the time the piece was written. And it is an understanding of the world of the author lived in an event or ideologies or their culture and their lifestyle, which allows for more comprehensive understanding of the work. Certainly, this is about how the setting explains the literary piece. Now, history and literature come hand in hand because together they interpret human experiences and allows us to know the things that shapes our present time. These are two interconnected and interwoven concepts which affect each other, and they reflect the rich diversity and culture of society. Also, it expands to understanding how literature shaped history and vice versa. Now let us try to examine this paragraph. Mr. Sellis walked up to the teller and handed her a paper slip. She punched a few figures into the computer and ran the slip through a machine. It printed some numbers on the back of the slip. She handed the slip back to him along with the money. Then she asked, "Is there anything else I can help you today?" Mr. Sellis grabbed the money off the counter and tipped his hat to the woman. "Not today. Thank you." Now, the question is, when and where is the story taking place? Now let's start first with the question where. In the given example, from the start of the story, it's stated here that Mr. Sellis walked up to the teller and handed her a paper slip. Now when you hear the word teller, what comes into your mind? Is it someone that tells us a story? Or is it someone or a person works in a bank? Perhaps we can associate the word teller as someone who works in a bank. And with that being said, therefore, the story is taking place in a bank because there is a teller and an exchange through which Mr. Celis receives money. Now, how about the question when? When is the story taking place? Now, from the given example, it mentioned there that the teller pulled a few figures into the computer and ran the slip through a machine. Now, in that scene, what can you observe? Probably you would say that the story is taking place during modern times. And how do you say so? Simply because during the past generations, technologies are not yet created or discovered. But in modern times, different technologies came out. And here, we can surely say that this story is taking place in modern times because the teller uses computers and some banking equipments. Now let's have another example. Crack. Joyce banged the two racks together. Celis watched him from across the pit. Crack, crack. Joyce wiped her forehead with her arm and said, "It no work." Celis gathered more small sticks from off the ground and dropped them in the pit. He climbed a nearby tree and grabbed a coconut. She peeled some of the husk from the coconut and dropped it from the pit. "You try now," Celis grunted. Crack, crack. Joyce rubbed the two rocks together, but still, there was no fire. Now again, the question is, when and where the story is taking place? Let's start first with the question where. So the story in this example is taking place outside by some trees and a fire pit. How could I say so? So probably it is somewhere with a nice weather because in the story, Celis climbed a coconut tree and grabbed a coconut, which emphasized that the weather is good and they are both in a nice place full of trees. Now how about the question when? When the story is taking place. So from the example, on the last part of the story, Joyce rubbed the two rocks together, yet there was no fire. And in this scene, it only shows that the story is taking place in the distant past. How do I say so? Because in the times of our ancestors or in the past generations, they don't have any tools or equipment to start a fire. They only have rocks wherein they rub two rocks together to form a fire. And it only proves that the story is taking place in a distant past. Now it seems that you have already a clear overview on the literary work through the lens of historical criticism. And to end our discussion, I will leave you a quotation from Theodore Roosevelt, which stated that the more you know about the past, the better prepared you are for the future. And that ends for my report. I know it's just a quick and short discussion, but I hope that you'll learn something from it. Thank you and have a great day, everyone.